Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this Victors, Heroes, Wolverines event. My name is Heidi Jessel, and I'm the Senior Director of Development for Student Life. Live captioning is available during tonight's program. To view captions, please click on Closed Caption at the bottom right of your screen and then choose Show Subtitle. To use the Q&A feature, please type your question in the Q&A window at any time during the event. Tonight, we look forward to sharing with you how students have helped create solutions to COVID-19 related challenges on campus. I'm excited for you to see the great work by our students. To begin our time together, I'm delighted to introduce Mary Nell Baldwin from Ada, Michigan. Mary Nell is an education professional of over 29 years, beginning her 22nd year working with an academically talented youth program in the intermediate school district in her area. She is a graduate of the College of Literature, Science, and the Arts, and she also serves on the School of Education Dean's Advisory Council. The Baldwin family has a long-standing legacy of support for the University of Michigan across many areas. From Mary Nell and her husband Dana, Dana's father, Dana's grandparents, and great aunt and uncle. Dana's great-grandfather was a class of 1877 law. And the next generation of Baldwins is making a difference as well. Dana and Mary Nell's son Peter work to improve student mental wellness while a student at the university. He recently helped champion a toolkit that was made possible by Mary Nell, Dana, and the Baldwin Foundation through counseling and psychological services to help faculty address student challenges in this space. Mary Nell Baldwin, welcome.
Thank you, Heidi. I'm pleased that we could bring this group together. Through my work with students over the years, community volunteer work, and the work determining support for the from the Baldwin Foundation, I have gained an appreciation for the importance of areas outside those of traditional academics. Mental wellness in all its forms is of vital importance. This is why we chose last year to support the creation of a toolkit for all 6,000 plus faculty at U of M to help them identify and assist students that may be struggling in this area. The response from faculty has been astounding, highlighting that they are concerned about this issue and want to be as supportive of their students as possible. In the tradition of leaders and best, this toolkit has now been made into an easily usable app and has been shared nationwide so that high schools and other colleges and universities can benefit from the resources we have here at Michigan. I understand that a student-oriented version of the toolkit is currently in the works, and I'm happy to see that students have taken up this issue. As I understand, we will hear more about it shortly. I am pleased at this time to introduce Jean Mirabito, Executive Director of Student Affairs in the College of Engineering. Jean has 3 decades of experience in higher education administration and serves as the point person in the College of Engineering for issues involving students. Her office provides a wide variety of services and programs to encourage the intellectual, personal, social, vocational, and cultural development of Michigan engineers. Jean is here to introduce the COVID-19 Campus Challenge, a student-led challenge seeking creative ideas on how to create a safe and fruitful educational environment. Welcome, Jean.
Thank you so much, Mary Nell, and thank you all for letting us share our story. So, what is the COVID-19 Campus Challenge? It started as an idea created by David Chang and Sujai Arakeli, who you will meet shortly, 2 Michigan students who wanted to make a difference for their fellow students and for the university they love. David took this idea to my dean, Dean Alec Gallimore, and Dean Gallimore shared the challenge enthusiastically with me. Realizing the passion David and Sujai had for this, and seeing the potential in engaging hundreds of students across the university to create possible solutions for an in-person and public health informed fall 2020 semester, I reached out to Student Life to partner with us on the challenge. Laura Blake Jones, who you also will meet, embraced the partnership and we jointly emailed all 46,000 students asking them to be part of the solution to get back to campus. The student response was extraordinary, a true Michigan response. 609 students registered for the challenge. 17 of the 19 colleges and schools are represented in the challenge. 89 student teams submitted projects, and tonight you will hear from 3 of these teams. There are 6 topic areas for these projects: housing, transportation, food insecurity, co-curricular activities, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and mental health. 6 students served as peer mentors to the challenge. 22 staff and faculty served as professional mentors for the teams. We had 26 judges who were faculty and staff who determined the top 30 teams, who all presented in an incredible virtual showcase today. And 2 members of my team in the College of Engineering, April Hayes and Mariah Fumara, with David and Sujai, worked tirelessly to make this all happen. The challenge has been transformative for the students involved, certainly, but also for all of us, the faculty and staff, who had the privilege of working with our student teams and seeing the dedication and commitment of our students to get us back on campus. And now I am so proud to introduce the 2 co-creators of the COVID-19 Campus Challenge, David and Sujai. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jean, for the introduction. And I just wanted to say thank you again to Jean, Mariah, and April, the Office of Student Life in the College of Engineering, as well as all the other administrators in student life and across the university that have been really, really supportive of the challenge from its start. I want to tell you a little bit about how the challenge got started. So I recently just graduated with a master's in biomedical engineering. And so this was my last semester at Michigan. And I hopped on a video call with Dean Gallimore. It was part of this thing he does with grad students. It's called Eating and Talking. So originally I signed up for it was supposed to be an in-person thing where we would, sit down and eat. And the real reason I signed up for it was because I thought I was gonna get a nice free meal and get a chance to talk with Dean Gallimore. But that got pushed aside because of COVID. And so it became an online video call instead. But I was still eager to talk with him. And one of the things he asked us during the call was, how can the university help students during this time? He was especially concerned with student mental health, and he really wanted to know what can the university do for us? And I thought about that question a lot. And I said to him, I think that a big thing would be to, give students a sense of purpose during this time. I know myself, I was really having a tough time. I was feeling a lack of motivation for classes. And, with COVID in the news every day, that was really like the thing I was always thinking about. And I wanted to do something meaningful. I wanted to do something that could help someone, or, it was just hard when you're quarantined all day. And so I said, really something that could help give students a sense of purpose. I think that'd be great. And I suggested maybe we could do a challenge or some sort of programming that allows students to tackle problems related to COVID. He really liked that idea. And he actually encouraged me to take on that challenge and to start that program. And so that got me really excited. So because of that, I reached out to Sujai, who's a really good friend of mine. We've had a lot of experiences working on different projects together in the past. The big thing was we worked on starting the student org called MedLaunch, where we design assistive technologies for people with disabilities. And that was a new student org that we started. And if not for Sujai, that project would have never happened. And so I knew Sujai was someone I could really trust. So I reached out to him, and together we crafted a proposal, sent that back to Dean Gallimore the same day. And he loved the proposal, and he passed it on to more administrators. And that's how I got in contact with Jean. And from there, I'd say Jean really helped spearhead everything and was able to gather all the mentors, get the programming out, help with all the marketing. So without her assistance, without her help, none of this would have happened. I'd like to turn it over now to Sujai, who can talk a little bit more about the challenge.
Yeah, so when David reached out to me, I was in a similar position. Obviously, graduation was canceled. I just graduated this semester with a degree in cell and molecular biology. So I was also kind of in this purposeless state. And so I was really excited when he approached me with this idea for this challenge. And so we were really motivated. We set up a proposal. The administration was super helpful and was on board. And then a few weeks later, they sent an email to every single student at the university about this. And we were able to get over 600 students to participate in 89 proposals. And I was just blown away how an idea that David and I had just a few weeks ago was able to turn into this massive thing, despite having to do things virtually. So another thing we did is we asked a few of our friends to serve as peer mentors. And I was one of the peer mentors, and we worked a lot with these teams. And I was really blown away by how passionate a lot of these students are about their projects, because you can tell that people really, really want to get back to campus in the fall. And so today we're going to be, I'm going to be introducing 3 presentations who will talk about their innovative solutions and how they felt they could best address the challenges that campus will face in the fall. And so for our first presenter, just a little backstory, Festival and Northfest are really large events where student orgs recruit students, but social distancing guidelines are going to make it difficult for these events to occur. So then the question arises, how will student orgs recruit students? And so here to talk about that is Rio Koopa, who along with their team tried to develop a solution to address this problem.
Thank you, Sujai and David, for creating this challenge and giving all of us students an opportunity to make an impact on what Michigan is going to look like in the fall. So yes, starting my presentation, my group worked on recreating Festival. So we called our project Maze Map, the new Festival. And so this is my team, and we all came together when our teammate Sangmin texted us and asked if we wanted to get involved with the COVID campus challenge, and we had all gotten an email about it. We're all very passionate about our extracurricular activities, and we were really intrigued by the co-curricular topic. So we all decided to join this team. And when we joined this team, we realized that COVID-19 has made a really large impact on college students, and this poses a lot of challenges for navigating campus. So through social engagement, through co-curricular activities, we wanted to be able to allow students to be actively involved in these activities while minimizing potential risks related to coronavirus. So this is why we got involved in this challenge. And as Sujai mentioned, Festival and Northfest is a large-scale event where student organizations set up booths for one afternoon in order to recruit members, and students have the opportunity to explore different organizations that they want to join. Our team believes that it's an integral part of the beginning of the Michigan experience. And involvement in student orgs is one of the biggest things that Michigan students do, and it really helps build community among students. So our problem statement is, how can we recreate Festival and Northfest for students to explore and pursue their interests under Michigan's social distancing guidelines? Our team kept in mind first years and transfers who had never been to campus before, never got the opportunity to make friends yet, and student organizations who are looking to recruit new members in order to keep improving and building their communities. So we talked to many different student org leaders and asked them why Festival is very important to them from a leader standpoint. And they all basically talked about recruitment and how it's a great way to recruit new members. We then looked into needs assessment. So we asked them, are Festival and Northfest important to advertising your student organization? And 93% of the organizations that we surveyed agreed or strongly agreed that this was a very important event. So according to the Center for Campus Involvement, which runs Festival and Northfest, this event serves over 10,000 students and represents about 1,600 organizations. So this event has a very large impact in the Michigan community. And again, talking to these student organization leaders, they all said that Festival and Northfest were the main ways that they recruited new students. We also spoke to some experts, such as some people who worked for the Center for Campus Involvement and also some mentors of the COVID-19 challenge, and they all believed that our solution was feasible for this need that we saw. So going into the solution, we wanted to create a fully online version of Festival as well as a hybrid version of Festival, depending on what the circumstances allowed for. So our fully online version of Festival, our goal is to develop an online platform on Maze pages for students to explore each organization and be recruited. And this comes in 3 main steps of before, during, and after. So before Festival, we would have student organizations contacted and have them submit different videos and trainings. So these trainings would involve being trained in the system, a process breakdown, and mental health. So we wanted student org leaders to be trained in mental health so that they can really connect with their peers and be for them in these unprecedented times. And then going into during Festival, what we would do is on Maze pages where all the student organization profiles are housed, we would have this thing called the Maze map. So when a student, so say I was a first year, so I would navigate to Maze pages and click on the Maze map here. And then after that, I would see all these different icons of the categories that would be presented on Maze pages. And I'm interested in exploring environmental orgs. So clicking on that, now I'm brought to this page where I have so many different categories that fall into environmental. And we wanted to emphasize the categories so that students aren't overwhelmed with hundreds of student orgs that might fall into one category. So looking into the animals, I think that the Squirrel Club is interesting. Clicking on their Maze page profile, I'm going to watch a video or 1-minute presentation about the organization in order to learn more about them. And then I want to join their live Zoom session because I'm more interested in talking to them, maybe having some of my questions answered. So clicking into the Zoom session, I'm brought into a breakout room where I can talk to current members and really get to know more about the student org from their perspective. And after this virtual festival would take place for each of the student orgs, we wanted to make sure that student org leaders were facilitating bonding between current members and new members in order to really build community. Our hybrid solution is similar to the online one, except for the fact that students would be navigating this Maze map beforehand in order to explore the different student organizations, and then they would fill out a form indicating which ones they wanted to meet in person due to capacity limits. So this is what our hybrid would look like, for example. So hopefully in a big outdoor space where there's a more minimized risk for potential of COVID spread. And we would also direct the flow of traffic, have some masks, hand sanitizer, and have social distancing guidelines in place so that it can be as safe, but also interactive and having that face-to-face contact. So the timeline of our implementation is that we wanted to create the Maze map and then market the details of this festival, create and send out the training modules, and then have a week-long festival during the first week of school so that students aren't as overwhelmed with schoolwork, and also they can explore the most amount of student orgs as possible. Our budget is highlighted here, just some costs for personnel, PPE, equipment, and indirect costs such as marketing. And we thought that this would all be covered by student organizations paying a fee in order to participate. So we believe that our solution addresses the problem because our solution enables students to experience festival as close to the experience they would have as if it was the traditional version, and ultimately connects students with student organizations and helps to build community during these unprecedented times. Our solution is sustainable as it can be used even beyond the semester and for many different uses such as student org recruitment in the winter and Greek life recruitment, and it's also a way for student orgs to update their Maze page. It's implementable because it already uses a platform that students are familiar with, and so that's Maze pages, and also another program would just have to be developed on it. And a lot of students are very enthusiastic about this as we've surveyed a bunch of students to see what they thought of our plans, and they seemed to really like it and thought that festival was very important to their Michigan experience. Thank you so much for allowing me to present today, and thank you again to David and Sujai and all of the creators of the COVID Challenge.
All right, so for our second presentation, that deals with the topic of mental health. And so students will need access to mental health resources, but because of COVID, a lot of mental health resources aren't adequately prepared, especially if you have to do things like virtual appointments. So I want to introduce Jacqueline Wasserman, who, along with her team, is working on a solution to address the issue of patient confidentiality, specifically during mental health appointments.
Thank you. As Sujai mentioned, my name is Jacqueline Wasserman, and on behalf of my teammates, Juliana Catone, Nikita Daniel, Madeline Lee, Anusha Santhaper, and Aditi Valetti, I'm excited to present our U-Type They Talk appointment solution for improving student access to mental health resources by protecting confidentiality. When we heard about this challenge, my friends and I were eager to help find ways of enhancing the student experience during the COVID pandemic. We found we all had similar problems finding private spaces for holding virtual meetings uninterrupted, and realized other students might face similar issues during mental health appointments. Therefore, the problem we sought to address was that in order to take advantage of virtual appointments, students currently need a private space, yet not all students have one. Our proposed implementation of a hybridized style appointment option in which a student could type their responses via the Whiteboard feature on BlueJeans would enable students to hold appointments with mental health professionals without the fear of being overheard by roommates. There are many reasons that BlueJeans Whiteboard is the ideal choice, including that it is HIPAA compliant, cheap, instantaneous, and allows for different combinations of video, audio, and typing. More specifically, our solution aims to address the difficulty of maintaining both confidentiality and accessibility for virtual appointments with campus mental health resources. Currently, most mental health services use audio appointments and thus require a private location. However, with students staying inside more and practicing social distancing due to COVID-19, it may be challenging for students to engage in these appointments, especially given the limited privacy typically afforded by student living conditions. Campus services have done a good job of adapting to meet student needs during this time, and we would like to expand upon this to provide the most comfortable option for students this fall. To better understand student needs, we spoke to multiple experts on campus and conducted our own survey. Overall, we found that the majority of students have multiple roommates with very little personal space. Notably, when we are off campus, 54% of students do not have access to a private location. When we are on campus, this percentage reaches as high as approximately 40%. Fortunately, the student body appears receptive of our idea, with 86% finding it beneficial and 74% indicating that it would be their preferred method of conducting a virtual visit. We also spoke to 3 mental health experts on campus. Both Ed Hubner from Counseling and Psychological Services, also known as CAPS, and Marcia Benz from Wolverine Wellness spoke to us about privacy issues currently faced during virtual appointments. Additionally, they emphasized the importance of confidentiality while maintaining personal connection, which our proposal seeks to address through the ability to combine typing, audio, and video in a way that is most convenient for the student. Finally, we consulted with Aria from Heart Listens, an anonymous mental health text line, who reinforced the possibility of success with written communication. To elaborate, our solution is to implement the option of a you-type they talk appointment, you referring to the student and they referring to the counselor. With this, the student can use the BlueJeans Whiteboard typing and drawing feature during mental health virtual appointments on campus. This allows students to express their feelings while interacting with the counselor in a way that they feel most comfortable, including typing, speaking, and/or using video. As for the logistics of our proposal, when a student schedules an appointment with a mental health resource, they would be able to choose from different appointment options. For example, for CAPS, this would include a BlueJeans virtual meeting with just audio and no video, a traditional meeting with audio and video, as are currently being offered, and then our solution, which includes the interactive whiteboard feature with or without audio and video. The students simply indicate their preferred option when scheduling their appointment. Then the student will be sent an instructional document we created on how to use the whiteboard feature, along with usual confirmation and pre-visit paperwork. This information would also be available on the Mental Health Resources website. A typical you-type they talk appointment is structured so that the student can hear and see the counselor who uses their audio and video as normal. However, the student has the added option of using the whiteboard feature to type their responses, in addition to having access to video or audio if they feel comfortable using it. Not only does the increased confidentiality through the written feature help protect both the student and the counselor, the transmission of typed responses and drawings is instantaneous text to screen, which helps reduce time demands and filtering of responses. Here is a short video we put together to demonstrate how one of these appointments would work.
Hey, before we get started, I noticed when you scheduled an appointment, you indicated a preference for you-type they talk appointments. Is that still your preference? Okay, no problem. Let's get started then. How are you doing today? Glad to hear it. All right, should we show them how to use the drawing feature? Wow, I think we've made some real artistic progress here. Great session, keep up the good work. Bye.
So in terms of sustainability, it is highly likely that even after the COVID pandemic is over, virtual appointments will continue due to their convenience and accessibility. As such, our proposal will continue to be a relevant and viable way of protecting confidentiality for students who want to use virtual visits, but may not have a place in which they feel comfortable speaking freely. Moreover, this solution has applications for any campus resource that conducts virtual appointments, and thus can expand. We've already been in contact with academic advising and career counseling services who wish to use our solution. Lastly, adding to the sustainability is the cost effectiveness. Our goal with this challenge was to provide a cheap and feasible solution to increase student access to mental health resources. Accordingly, by finding a way to repurpose a pre-existing technology, we ensured that almost every cost associated with our program is already being funded, from the staff who are participating in it to the software that was used. The only potential cost is staff and student education, which we anticipate to be minimal since most mental health resources on campus are already using Blue Jeans, and we have created our own instructional documents and demos, which we will provide. This slide highlights the next steps that we will be taking towards the implementation of our proposal. We have already been in contact with several resources on campus interested in implementing U-type They Talk appointments. We were thrilled to have been chosen as one of the top 5 mental health teams in the COVID-19 Campus Challenge and to be featured in the Challenge Showcase, where we presented our solution to U of M administrators earlier today. By the end of July, we hope to finalize the list of organizations participating in our pilot program, which we will continue to plan throughout August. When the semester starts, we want to have the websites updated and begin our pilot program. After trial and revision, we plan to roll out the program in its entirety around October. Finally, my team and I would like to thank everyone involved in organizing the COVID-19 Campus Challenge, with a special thanks to our judges, expert mentors, and peer mentor for all their help and support. Additionally, a huge thank you to Victor's Heroes Wolverines webinar for having us today, as well as to you, our audience, for listening.
All right, so our final presenter is going to deal with the issues surrounding diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so there are a number of resources available, but they're kind of scattered. And so Jade Kissy, along with her team, has been working on developing a centralized location for these resources to meet the growing needs of students.
Thank you, Sujai. So my name is Jade Kissy, and I will be speaking on behalf of Audrey, Anita, Synovia, Alekia, and Daisy for our team solution, Plug'em. In this presentation, I'll be going over the problem we found as well as explaining the solution within the next few minutes. I would like to take this moment to give a bit of a disclaimer. The format of these slides were prepared for our final submission for the COVID Campus Challenge, so the slides will be a bit text-dense, but I'll be summarizing and explaining the most important aspects, so please not feel rushed to read everything on the slides. So our problem statement came about by realizing that currently there are no centralized location of resources to meet the growing needs of students, specifically students belonging to marginalized and resource-constrained communities. Typically, many students rely on word of mouth to hear about the resources available on campus, but social distancing and virtual transitions has limited these conversations between students. So we chose this problem taking into consideration our own statuses as minority students and the current racial climate within the United States. We wanted to support our peers by offering easy access to helpful and vital resources, and we wanted to make sure our perspective could be included in the university's plan to reopen, if chosen. And we were excited at the opportunity to make sustainable change for current students and Wolverines to be. The pandemic had us all feeling a bit useless, and it was a great opportunity for us to suggest positive ideas on a topic that we were all passionate about. So after conducting a survey sent to U of M students, we found that our peers' greatest needs stemmed from financial difficulties, lack of job security, and mental health concerns. 77% of respondents belonging to a minority group stated that their mental health was affected, and over half reported a need for counseling services, as well as safe spaces and support groups. We also found that a majority of students typically discover resources through word of mouth, which is restricted and looks very different in the context of social distancing. The issues that we found from our peers, that our peers were facing, are also present nationwide. Access to proper mental health care services is severely stratified along both racial and financial lines. A significant contributor to this disparity is the stigma surrounding mental health treatment within racial minority communities. And then in terms of job security, nationwide, a disproportionate amount of working college students are Black, Latino, and first-generation students. At the University of Michigan, about 50% of students work in order to pay their tuition, most of which lost its income due to the pandemic. So in summary, our school does not have a one-stop-for-all location where students who carry the burden of the previously mentioned needs can go and get the help that they're looking for. So this is a breakdown of our solution program. The University of Michigan has a plethora of resources spanning all 19 colleges with programs targeted towards all students. Finding all these resources can be overwhelming and time-consuming if students do not know the right place to look. Our website encompasses all of these resources in an easy way while also giving an additional resource that is specific to program called Catharsis, which I will elaborate on later in this presentation. So Catharsis addresses the mental health needs shown in our needs assessment. It is our aim that the anonymous aspect will address the stigma and discomfort associated with receiving mental health care, as well as open up a space for students to talk about sensitive issues. The rest and majority of program provides opportunities for other needs we identified to be met, such as funding and job hiring. So as you can see here, this is a prototype of what our website will look like. Our homepage offers quick links to other parts of our website. The institutional resource page offers tangible resources such as MESA, University Health Services, CEW, and more. Each resource has its own page categorized by opportunities. For example, these tabs are taken from the MESA website and are tangible resources available to students right now. So this is an example of the school-specific resources. Each school will have its own page expanding on the opportunities that they have. That way students can know what their specific college has for them. So this is the student posting boards. This section of our website focuses on the word of mouth aspects for students by students. Students will be able to engage with one another and post the services they might be giving as well as places that might be hiring. We thought it was important for students to be able to promote their own business, since we knew firsthand that within many minority communities on campus, it can be hard to find professionals who can, for example, do your hair, and a lot of students have businesses catered towards meeting those needs. Also, clubs on campus that are having events geared towards marginalized groups can post to get their word out. Students can also post about job hirings from their employers. So now the final aspect of our solution is Catharsis. Catharsis offers a safe environment with discussions run by trained facilitators who know participants' identity in order to handle situations that will require aspects such as mandatory reporting. These conversations would allow students to candidly speak on issues centered around topics such as social identities, prejudice, stereotyping, power, privilege, and oppression. We've been in contact with people from Common Ground, which is an aspect within intergroup relations, as well as the Spectrum Center for potential collaboration with their already trained facilitators. So for the sustainability of our solution, since we are compiling U of M's COVID-19 and non-COVID related resources. This solution will be sustainable past the pandemic as well. The student posting board for and by the students will be a self-sustaining resource because students will be updating their website as time goes on. Lastly, our resource Catharsis will also be sustainable because it is helpful for students in both virtual and in-person environments, as well as addressing a need that existed before COVID and unfortunately will exist after. So for the timeline of implementation, we aim to implement the website in August, giving about 2 months to finish compiling resources and go through bug testing. We will then go into the next phase by creating Catharsis and integrating it into our website. This timeline also includes several periods to implement feedback from students and take into account our success measurements, which includes page visits and click-through rates. So this was our estimated budget. We're using existing resources, so we don't need new funding from U of M, but we did list the estimates of having U of M employees manage the website. As for the other pieces of our solution, we have been talking to Common Ground, as I previously mentioned, and other on-campus organizations to bring Catharsis to life. We plan on advertising our website through existing social media, such as the U of M Instagram page, clubs, and then departmental emails to students. So in summary, by utilizing existing U of M resources, the cost would be minimal to none. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to our mentors who were able to give such great advice.
Thank you. My name is Laura Blake Jones, and I serve as Dean of Students. And I'm honored to be here tonight with all of you for Victors, Heroes, and Wolverines. I first want to begin by expressing my deep appreciation to David and Sujai, to Mary Nell for being with us tonight, and to Jean Morabito for the partnership that we've been in over these last few weeks for the COVID challenge. We've been working with our students and our student leaders nearly since the moment we went virtual on first in crisis response mode, working to ensure that we were caring for the needs of our student and helping them manage their transitions to go back home if they could, and to provide ongoing housing for the students that have stayed with us throughout this time. We began working in planning mode at a point in time when what we were doing were just scenario-based situational planning, not knowing what the future was going to hold. And from the beginning, we've been working with students alongside us. I was asked to share just a little bit about how we've been doing that. And first and foremost, we have a long tradition of having student advisory boards and working closely with our elected and positional student leaders in all across the campus. So of course, we began talking with them and working with them. And we had an advisory board that we had assembled initially to advise us as we were working to plan for Debate 2020 being hosted on our campus. We repurposed that group during COVID, initially asking them to do both, and they immediately rose to the challenge of wanting to provide input. And as you've heard from the students here today, that initial time period when the students had gone home and weren't here any longer, they were hungry to be connected to campus and to help make a difference and to help plan for how they could get back here and how we could resume in the fall. The student committee, the steering committee of student leaders immediately started working on and authoring by students for students a pledge that is about to be revealed and part of our central marketing campaign about how Wolverines can demonstrate a culture of care this fall and be in community with each other like we never have been before. And I think we've already been a great community, but taking this to a new level of thinking about the needs of others and how your behaviors can impact the well-being of other people. The advisory group, as I indicated, that was repurposed, had also assisted with weighing in on the pledge as it was being constructed, and also helping us provide feedback to our design and communications professionals on campus about how to most effectively have normative campaigns, that will begin actually sooner than the fall because we're feeling the need for messaging right now. Then, thanks to David and Sujai's efforts, we had the gift of another 600 students that were passionate about joining us and wanting to be part of thinking about challenges that we faced in the 6 key areas that Jean overviewed earlier. And many of those areas, actually 5 of the 6 areas, really overlapped with work we were doing in student life, planning situationally for what fall might bring. I want to highlight that the work that we've been doing in this level of student engagement that I've just kind of overviewed quickly is not what every institution is doing. I was quite frankly shocked because our worldview at Michigan is we always involve our leaders and best and work with our students on tough challenges. And you've seen tonight what doing that gleans for the campus community. But many schools are developing pledges that are being written by administrators. They're developing plans that aren't being vetted by students. But that's just not how we work at the University of Michigan. And so while our planning efforts have been underway since March, and they're very layered given the size and complexity of the institution, we had presidentially appointed 2 oversight committees. The provost appointed 5 different committees to work specifically around academic issues. And then in student life, we had an additional 5 committees working in areas that overlap with the COVID challenge areas as well. So while those things have been underway for quite some time, it was only last week that President Schlissel made the announcement that we are preparing for a residentially based fall experience, an academic year experience that will be high flex and hybrid. And now we can really move forward knowing that and continue to put, we've been saying, the meat on the bones of these plans, continuing to use our engaged students. So Jean and I face the challenge right now of how do we take the work of the 89 teams and connect them directly to the various work teams that are working in these areas so that they can harness the collective enthusiasm, power, and ideas of our Wolverines at their best. I want to say, although this has been a challenging time that's required a lot of resilience and a lot of ability to navigate uncertainty, the thing that has been very restorative for me is because I've been able to work with our students on this since March on a weekly and sometimes daily basis. I am so encouraged by our students' commitment, by their willingness to step forward and take on challenges that we've never faced before, come up with strategic ideas, be willing to be out there and promote working with their peers, to ensure that people are thinking beyond their own experience and their own self-interest to think about the needs of others. And if any community can do this and do it well, I know it is our community at the University of Michigan. So I want to thank our students who are here tonight. If you can imagine that they are a microcosm of the 30 teams that presented today in the showcase, and that they too then are just a small subset of the 89 proposals that we got. You can only imagine the power of the ideas that they've generated, and the institution is indebted to them for all of this. And again, David and Sujai, my deepest appreciation for your idea that turned into all of this. Now I think I will turn it back over and we'll begin Q&A.
Thank you, Dean Jones, for your support of this program and for supporting our students. And thanks to Jean Morabito and our terrific panel of students, Sujai, David, Ria, Jacqueline, and Jade, and all of their teams. Now I'm going to open it up for questions and turn to our panel. If any of our guests watching this evening have questions, please type your questions into the Q&A window. Our first question this evening is for Dean Jones. What are the plans to help keep students safe when they return to campus, including issues such as possible quarantine, masks, and similar tools to stop the spread of COVID-19?
Thanks, Heidi. That is a complex question, and I'll attempt to break it down and address each of those areas. So First and foremost, our plan for student safety will begin with talking with our students, and as you've seen already in President Schlissel's announcement, and hopefully you've seen on our Back to Campus Maze and Blueprint website, the notion that we are going to ask students to be mindful about their health and safety 2 weeks before they will be coming back to Ann Arbor in the fall. So we're asking that students would voluntarily quarantine essentially themselves, not take a big trip, not put themselves in social situations where they're exposing themselves, so that when they come and arrive in Ann Arbor, they can be in the best health possible. From there was a question specifically about quarantine. And we know that bringing large numbers of people back together from all over the country and all over the world means that we do have to be prepared for situations where individuals in this age demographic will test positive for COVID-19 and need to be isolated or quarantined, or they might be in a situation where they know they have been exposed to someone who tested positive and be in that same situation. So we have been developing very clear plans based on the best guidance from the CDC and the American College Health Association. We have housing that we're going to hold on campus, which is suitable for quarantine, so apartment style spaces for students. And then our priority in planning for this in those on-campus spaces will be our on-campus students in residence halls. Second, our students living in group living situations in co-ops and in fraternity and sorority chapter facilities in large group living environments. And then our students living off campus are also a priority. We know that many of them may be in a situation where they live, where they have a private bathroom or a private bedroom. They might be able to isolate where they live. Many of our students might be in a situation where they could choose to go home to isolate or quarantine. But for those who can't, we will also have other available quarantine housing, whether that is in off-campus apartment buildings or hotel space that we will have available for that need. The question about masking, and actually maybe I should have started with that, because if we are successful in our efforts to have folks wear masks, particularly inside any common areas of buildings, and then even outside when they're in situations where they can't socially distance. So a bunch of students, for example, standing together at a bus stop, right? We want students to be wearing masks. So when students arrive in the fall, all 48,000 of them are going to be provided with an initial care kit. It will have 4 masks, 4 face coverings in it. 2 of them are branded Michigan bandanas, and the other 2 are branded Michigan masks. Some hand sanitizer, and a card that gives lots of wise advice about how to maximize your health and safety in this time of social distancing. So we'll be providing that, and we will be encouraging everyone to wear masks as long as it is indicated and recommended. There's also going to be enhanced cleaning protocols in the residence halls, on campus, in academic buildings, in our recreation facilities, once we're able to open them. And our dining areas are going to look very different than what students were used to. They're going to be dining at a social distance. There's going to be intensive cleaning protocols there as well. And for many students, they may choose to pick up a meal at one of the many locations we're going to have around the campus to avoid or not every meal go into the dining room and being seated with other people. We want to provide that opportunity as best we can at a social distance, because we know it's important for students to come together. And we also want to be very mindful of the need to social distance in the dining experience and follow recommendations. So I could go on, but those are some of the things we're doing that address the question that you just asked. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Jones. Could you do a brief addition onto that answer based on some of the questions that we're having in the chat regarding working with community members in Ann Arbor, bar owners, that type of thing, and looking at outside of campus, perhaps gatherings, parties, tailgates, and things of that nature in terms of how will that be addressed?
Absolutely. So I haven't seen all the questions in the chat because I was talking, but I see that the questions are going up there. So first, let's start with the bars. Many of you may have followed or be aware that today the governor announced restrictions in bars of not being able to do indoor service, but rather only outside service. We don't know what will be in place in the fall when when our students begin to return. And prior to that announcement today, we're already scheduled to meet with the 4 business associations in Ann Arbor, the bar owners, the media campaigns that we're developing, and the information and the planning. We're sharing all of that. We're going to be doing collaborative messaging with the city of Ann Arbor. And the second part of that question had to do not with people gathering in bars, but outdoor or indoor gatherings, social gatherings off campus. So when I mentioned that steering group of leaders and students that are working collaboratively around planning and creating the pledge, that included student leaders from all 4 of the councils in fraternity and sorority life. And our students are working ardently to take their own self-governance processes and recalibrate them for what's expected in these unusual times. So the notion that Welcome Week will not be the normal Welcome Week that people may have expected, that the desire after being home and maybe being really isolated in your parents' house for the summer and wanting to come back to Ann Arbor and be with all your friends, while we certainly understand that and we know students will want to gather, we are really promoting that they gather in small groups, not large groups. And we only have to look to the national news right now to see in places where there hasn't been happening, or even in the state of Michigan, we had our own situation last week where students gathering at a bar, not in Ann Arbor, but in East Lansing, resulted in a large number of positive transmission of the disease and cases. So we're really hoping, and I would also say that we're appealing to parents and families of our students to really have conversations with their students prior to coming back, and to continue to be really undergirding how important it is that we all are thoughtful and mindful and temporarily have to change our own behaviors for the benefit of the whole community. Heidi, did I get all the questions, or is there something else?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. This is a question for, I believe, Jacqueline's group. The question is, I guess the comment is they really love the whiteboard idea, and they're wondering if it's compatible with all browsers and operating systems. And in addition to that, what sort of internal groups like the Depression Center and other places did you work with in coming up with your solution?
That's a really good question. To answer the first part, yes, the BlueJeans Whiteboard feature is compatible with all browsers and operating systems. As long as you can download the Whiteboard app, you can use it during your appointment. And then in terms of what resources we have been in contact with, we have been reaching out to a lot of mental health resources on campus. So we've been discussing with the Care Center, Wolverine Wellness, CAPS, as well as recently some non-mental health related campus services that hold virtual appointments, such as academic advising and career counseling services. In terms of the Depression Center specifically, we have not yet branched out to the Michigan medicine side of resources, as they tend to use their own platforms and have their own requirements for what they need as a medical clinic. But I can certainly see the applicability of something like this to that side. And so it definitely is an interesting point.
Thank you. Sujai, would you please share some information around whether the presentations from the showcase today will be made available, and how can students learn more about getting involved?
Yeah, so just a few things for that. We have a website, covidcampuschallenge.engine.umich.edu. And so not only will these presentations be available, but I believe the 30 presentations from the top 5 teams in each category will be available. And then we also made a number of blog posts that highlight all of the teams in each category. And so we're trying to get that posted on the website, and then also there might be some way to email that out. Have to look into that, but that'll give you a good sense of, all the different ideas. There are literally so many. And so, as you can see, there's so many, minor issues that'll have to be dealt with in the fall. And so I think it'll be really cool to be able to see, all of the ideas and ways that students are tackling these.
Great, thank you. Ria, would you let us know if Festival is only going to be open to student orgs, or could Telefund do recruiting during this event as well?
So I believe that Festival is traditionally reserved for student orgs and different departments of the university. And I know there's many different career fairs for different like job recruiting and things like that will also, to my knowledge, be happening virtually this year. So that's to the extent that I know about the differentiation between them.
Wonderful, thank you. David, could you tell us, will all of this information and the websites be emailed to all incoming students, or what is the total communication plan?
Are you so the information on the COVID website, or what information are you referring to?
I think probably yes. So related to the COVID challenge, and then also any information about how the students can get involved in these unprecedented times.
Yeah, so, well, in terms of just like the university's plan for everything, the university announced that the Maze and Blueprint website is like the official form of communication. That's the official website for, all resources on the university's plan. The COVID challenge website is more so just documentation about the challenge. But like Sujai said, we're gonna have those blog posts online. We're gonna have the top 30 teams posted. If students or anybody wants to be involved in the university's efforts, they can certainly reach out to me or Sujai or any of the administrators. Does that answer that question?
Perfect. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
I think that's all the time that we have left for questions. I'd like to thank you again, Dean Jones and Jean Murabidu, and all of our innovative students. It's really been great to hear from the source about all the exciting work that's underway. I want to especially thank Mary Nell Baldwin for serving as our host this evening. And thanks to all of you for joining us for this Victors, Heroes, Wolverines event. We appreciate being able to stay connected during this time. Keep an eye on your inbox for an event survey and other links soon, including slides from this evening. We hope to see you at our next webinar on Thursday, July 30th. Stay well, stay safe, and thank you again. Go Blue.